I got the news that I had late stage ovarian cancer on my 40th birthday. I'm on the steel table telling me that I'm a very sick lady. I had two young children at the time. One of the biggest things that I feared was I knew that I needed to tell them. I approached it like a biz appointment and got through each day, a day at a time, until I became cancer free. And then 3 years later, it returned. I said, I'm not going to go through this again. And that's when I really took control of my health.
You've had a full life even before you met me, and you have a full life after, and all these things. And you cross paths with someone and they have a whole history behind them, but you only know them from that point forward. And it is really interesting just to peel back the layers and get to know what happened in their life to make them who they are in this moment, and how is that impacting who they're going to continue to become in the future.
So when you really get in touch with yourself and you really go deep down inside, you will be the original person your soul was born to be. And it's not easy, but it's worth it.
And it's a new identity shift, and it's a new perspective, and it just puts yourself in a new headspace to do things differently than you've always done.
Love yourself. Women always put themselves at the bottom of the list. I was the number one person. And now when I have to make a decision, I say,
Hi, Nancy. Welcome to Becoming You. It's so great to have you on the show with me today.
thank you for inviting me. It is so great to see you.
I feel the same. I cannot believe when I think back to when we first met. I was 1 year out of college. I had been doing door-to-door sales in Westchester County in New York. And a colleague of mine was working in your studio. She's an artist. She's since then gotten her own pottery kiln in her garage and all these things. But back then she was just barely doing it on the side, and she was trying to work a regular full-time job, and she met you and she introduced us, and the two of us hit it off completely.
Absolutely agree. I enjoyed every minute of our time working together.
Yeah, it was so cool. I basically held this quote executive assistant role with you before I even knew what that was, but I was your personal assistant, and I was helping you, and I was just witnessing your spirit, your entrepreneurial spirit, and your love for life, and really a love and appreciation for women too, and just to see all of us succeed. And, it was amazing to witness that.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure working with you. You are brilliant.
Thank you, Nancy. You're always so sweet. It means so much to me. And I'm so happy to have you on the show to share your story with us. You've had many different things in life that we could touch on, all sorts of things, and go in many different directions. But when I came to you with this idea of being on my podcast, and I'm about to hit 100 episodes this year, so I've been at it for a while, but I really feel more comfortable now going to people and having people who know me from different stages of my life on the show. And it speaks to the fact that we are always evolving. We're growing and transforming. We're not who we used to be, 5 and 10 and 15 years ago. And even you and I, like, we're from two different generations. There's about, let's say, 40 years between us. So you see life and your perspective on it probably way differently than I do, but also you were just so willing to instill a lot of that confidence in me. You taught me how to navigate some difficult conversations back in the day too, which was super helpful. Because when you're young and impressionable and fresh out of college, it's so easy for people to try to take advantage of you. And first off, you never did that to me. But second, you even took it a step further and you refused to let that happen to me from other people too. And that always stuck with me.
Well, I am so happy that I was able to make that impression on you. But the thing about it is you can teach people things and they can refuse to follow. Okay. But you were wise and you took the advice and always ask questions, which is always amazing because there's never a stupid question. And you went and took that knowledge and put it to use. And that's what helped you grow to who you are today. And that being said, I wish that someone had done that to me at a younger age. Um, I did I have someone help me, but I was 56 at the time. So, but
Right.
my it's better late than never. At least I figured it out.
Yes, exactly. And to your point, like whether we learn something in our 30s, our 40s, 50s, and so on, like it's never too late to just do something different than how you've always done it. And a lot of people get stuck just wishing for things to change and hoping that one day they'll do something different. And the thing about one day is that it really never comes, right? We just have this present moment. We only have control and influence over this moment. The past has already happened. The future is not only undefined, but it's not guaranteed. So we can't just arbitrarily wait for it and hold our breath and hope that something's going to happen. And I'm so excited to hear like where you're at now in life, but I also want to just take a minute to walk the audience through a little bit of what you have been through, because you've handled adversity from all different angles, health and relationships, and even business. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. And it's so important, especially in this day and age and in this platform of podcasting, for people to see themselves in the speakers. You're my guest on this show, and I want them to resonate with what you're saying, but also to have hope and to know, there's other ways of doing things, or there's life beyond what can feel so overwhelming in the moment.
True, true. And to what you said earlier, waiting for that someday to happen. That is so true. It never happens unless you make the change. The change has to come from you. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But if you make the commitment and you're consistent and believe in the evolution of where you're going, it will happen. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, but it does happen.
Right, right. And where do you get that conviction from within to not only choose to make the changes, but how do you know what changes to make?
It actually comes with wisdom, okay? And I am very spiritual and pray a lot, and I ask the Lord for wisdom and discernment. And I was always a very type A personality, tried to control everything until life adversities hit me,
Hmm.
and I found that I was out of control. So you have to, I do anyhow. I wake up every day, not with my to do list anymore, but with my heart opened, asking the Lord to guide my agenda for the day. So if something gets canceled or changed, I don't spin around. I stay grounded and say, okay, well, I'm not supposed to be there at this moment. So that is really staying in the moment, staying grounded, and staying focused, and not being reactional.
Yeah, beautiful. And what does it mean for you at this time in your life to be part of something like this, to be on a podcast, sharing your story and reflecting back on your own journey of becoming?
Well, I feel honored that you included me and invited me on here. And, you know, I always, as you said earlier, because of the different adversities, and I know you'll walk us through that, I never wanted for anyone to have to go through the struggles in life that I did. And if
Hmm.
there was someone willing out to be a student
Hmm.
to learn, my teachings on how to navigate life for your fullest capacity, that's my goal. So sometimes, even if it's just hitting one person and changing that person's life, it's a winning.
Yeah, so beautiful. Go ahead.
No, it's a win. It's a win. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. And thank you too for just being so open with sharing your story. So I recall when I first met you, you were in remission of having gone through two bouts of cancer at that point, right? Yeah. So tell us about that. I mean, that's super scary, but also to just get your life back on track. And when I met you, you were healthy, strong, and fit. So I never saw you, in those times of your life, but I heard about it because you were such a witness for other women too. And you were an advocate of awareness, which nowadays we need more than ever because people are so aware of what little research is done for women's health and how to really take care of ourselves in a sustainable way over time. But going back to when you were going through that in your life, and like you mentioned, you felt your life was out of control. What things felt out of control? What was happening during these times, and then what kind of made you wake up to realize that?
My feeling was I was always healthy, did the right things, ate the right things, exercised. I was very busy, very active. Um, I got the news that I had late stage ovarian cancer on my 40th birthday.
Oh boy.
And I'm telling you, I've written an article. I don't know if you've read it, but
Yeah.
it was happy 40th birthday, Nancy. You have ovarian cancer.
Right.
And one of my businesses, which was like a child to me that I had for 30 years, was Little Rembrandt, the pottery studio, the party business. And I always planned birthday parties. Okay. And here I'm on this steel table telling me that I'm a very sick lady. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. It was shocking. And I had 2 young children at the time, and my one of the biggest things that I feared was telling them. I knew that I needed to tell them because my husband at the time was, um, not gonna be as grounded, and I didn't want them to have the fear. But I did what I needed to do, and I approached it like a business appointment and got through each day, one day at a time, until I became cancer free. And then 3 years later, it returned. And I said, I'm not going to go through this again. And that's when I really took control of my health, not the doctors. I went on what's called a primitive diet and um, was able to stay in remission. And every day is a blessing. So that was how I got over the hurdle with faith and changing my diet, my lifestyle. But life went on. I continued and continued, and that was 1998.
That is, yeah, that's amazing because we met probably 2013, you know. So there was already almost 15 years roughly between when you went through all of that and when I was meeting you at your stage in life. And that's what I always find so interesting. I mean, I can marvel at when our paths cross, and you know, you've had a full life even before you met me, and you have a full life after, and all these things. And this is with any human dynamic, right? You cross paths with someone and they have a whole history behind them, but you only know them from that point forward. And it is really interesting just to peel back the layers and get to know what happened in their life to make them who they are in this moment, and how is that impacting who they're going to continue to become in the future. And I remember too when we met, you had a huge ring. I don't know if you still have the ring, if you still wear it or not, but I loved this ring because it was such a physical, tangible example of womanhood, but you in particular taking back your power and your control. And like you just said, like even with this health crisis, basically, it goes from a health scare to a crisis to wait a second, I'm going to do this on my own terms, and I'm not just going to be, you know, something in the wind or something in the water, right? Like just getting pushed around. You actually wanted to put your foot down and take a stand. And I know you've done that over and over again. And why don't you tell us a story about the ring? Because I don't want to steal your thunder or take any of your stories because I know you so well, but the whole point is for you to share your stories with us.
Okay, and it's so funny that you brought up that ring
Tell me.
because I normally put it on every day, and today I chose to put a different one on.
Oh, cool. Tell me about this one.
Okay, so this one's my mom's, okay,
Cool.
and
Yeah.
it's a pink sapphire, and
Beautiful.
I put
Wow.
it on for her to be with me in spirit, and I normally just go and put that stone on.
Yeah.
So that ring was my original, the stone was my original engagement ring. And I saved it. I took it out of the setting and I saved it. And one day I had decided to design it into a right hand ring and a powerful statement, which was really big at the time. Women were starting to get their own diamonds or rings and make a statement with the right hand ring that you don't need a man to have it. And that was my ring. I made that statement every day and it felt so good to put it on.
Yeah.
Even I don't know if you recall this, but my wedding band I cut in half and made earrings out of.
Yes. Yes. I remember that.
That was another statement that, even if I was just going to work out, I put them on because it was a symbol of I got through this and I'm gonna keep going forward and move forward. So that's interesting that you remembered that. And I chose not to wear it to this
I
morning.
know that's so ironic. But I love that. And thank you for sharing that story. And I actually wore a ring today that reminds me of like a friend of mine. It's so interesting how we use jewelry not just to accentuate or feel beautiful or any of that. There's so much meaning behind it too. It makes you feel connected. It makes you feel, like you said, grounded, like your mother's here with you. So you're calm, you're in the right headspace, like she's here with you too. So it just feels like another iteration even of her own journey, right, in the beyond. And that's amazing. I mean, I'm so lucky to even have your mom with us too. Like that was unexpected because we didn't talk about that.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just amazing. And tell me too, so when we met, you had spent a lot of time like in fashion and design, right? And you dressed super well and you helped other women dress very well and feel empowered through that. So I just got nothing but female empowerment from you in every direction. Like no matter where you looked, you were helping people find themselves and do things on purpose and really feel that level of confidence. And obviously since then the pandemic happens and we're all in sweatpants. So obviously, like it's a little bit different now. We get dressed up maybe for special occasions, but not necessarily on in the day to day anymore. People's priorities have shifted a bit. And we're living life more intentionally. There's a whole movement for self-development, self-care, and you're seeing people just take genuine care of themselves, not just how they look, but how they feel. What are they putting in their bodies? How much sleep are they getting? Are they stepping into the sun? And I would love to hear how that transformation within your entrepreneur space has shifted over the course of the last, almost 15 years now.
Yes. So when you met me, I was just coming off my divorce. Okay. And I had a business called Little Rembrandt for almost 30 years. And I was getting sued for alimony.
Oh
So I
boy.
needed to close that business down. And that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do because I had so many people coming to me and like you did and your friends did, Lindsay, and other people. It was just a meeting place. And I had to shut those doors and I had to reinvent myself. And doing that at 56 years old is not the easiest thing to do. But I was determined again. I could do it. So I did always love fashion. I always loved to dress. And a friend of mine had introduced me to Worth Clothing, which was a high end women's clothing company. And it really, you catered to high powered, high executive people who were brilliant in their business, but needed some flair and how to style them and change them. And I worked with a lot of real estate agents, to have them look professional and polished and not overdone. So it was creating every day. It was so much fun.
Yes.
And that turned into, I had a fur coat that I was trying to sell, and you couldn't do it. And I just took it apart one day. We were in a snowstorm, and I redesigned it. And oh my God, it was fabulous. It was fun and flirty and functioning, and everybody's kept commenting, "Where'd you get that coat?" And I said, "I designed it." And they were like, "Can you design it for me?" And that became another thing. And one thing led to another. And I was having a grand old time. And then I was introduced to direct sales, which ended up being where I am today, and how I'm helping so many people because I can meet people in all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now through Zoom,
Yeah.
you can, and WhatsApp, there's no boundaries on who and when you can meet. Oh, and the pandemic, let's talk about the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's where everything started to shift because Worth Clothing went out of business. I tried to do another company, and my first trunk show was the day of the shutdown. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work. I'm not
Right.
gonna
It's
even
a sign.
yeah, we're going to have to go another direction.
Yeah.
And thank God, like I said, for the direct sales and Zoom, because we were able to increase our business quite a bit during that time, because people had more time to get on a Zoom and listen to what you had to teach. So
Right. Right.
yeah, it's always shifting lanes. So if you have a creative mind, and what I used to teach parents, if your child is creative and has a creative mind, when it comes to a dead end in the road, they're not going to say, "Oh, I can't go anymore." They're going to say, "Oh, well, let me look to the right and see if I can get there, or let me look to the left, and whichever path works, you go down it." And that's basically how I navigated through my life, from all these different shifts and all of that. So yes, fashion and beauty was always, grooming, making sure that, you look good, because one of the things I used to teach during Women's Cancer Week was look good, feel good.
Yeah.
And that's really the truth.
Mhm.
Even during the pandemic, I was one person who got up and got dressed and put my makeup on to make myself feel good, okay? Because that really helps. And I'm going to throw something in about that Women's Cancer Week, and we'll get to it later on. But they asked me to give a title, and it was "I Hope You Dance." That
Oh,
was the name of my
yeah.
title, because
Mhm.
the Leon Rimes song, "I Hope You Dance," if you ever listen to the lyrics of that, that was what a lot of times got me through my bad days, because we want to empower ourselves. So, but looking good and feeling good isn't just what you do on the outside. It really comes from within.
Mhm.
Okay. And my father always said, your body is your temple, and what you put into it is what you get out of it. So that's really important in keeping your mind healthy as
Mhm.
well as your body healthy, especially as you get older. But those young years catch up to you if you don't do the right thing along the way.
Right. No, that's so true. And it's incremental and it's consistent, right? It requires these elements in your younger years, or whenever you're like whenever it dawns on you to make a change. From that point forward, that's who you are now, right? And it's a new identity shift, and it's a new perspective, and it just puts yourself in a new headspace to do things differently than you've always done. And we hear about people who struggle with just that light switch. So instead, they'll kind of create an alter ego, and they create a new persona of themselves that they can envision this being a reality, right? And that's where we get introduced to vision boards, which I know you and I have done together. And like you said, just finding who we are underneath it all. And I remember too, when you would do kind of the trunk shows in your home and invite women one on one to have basically consultation, just the way that they walked in the first place to compare to when they left, and that level of confidence and feeling seen. And you just made them feel so good, of course, in what they're wearing, but in who they are, right? And how they show up in the world. Because of you, I know what like jacquard leather is, like there's just all these nuances from that time that, have just stood the test of time and have been part of my life ever since, in different ways, And we talked about this too the other day, but you're the first person to have told me that Geminis and Libras are great in business because, you're a Libra and I'm a Gemini, and we just clicked instantly. And we were in business, like we were both entrepreneurial mindset, but I was brand new to all of it. So even what you were going through, I didn't have a frame of reference for the amount of adversity, the amount of struggles that you had already and were continuing to persevere through. I was just kind of like, yeah, it'll all work out, like life goes on. But I was in my early 20s. So it was a world of difference. And like you said, you were in your mid 50s. So just hearing it play back now and knowing, how much I've grown since then. And now I'm in my mid 30s and you're, I don't want to disclose, but you're crushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy to say I'm 71 years old and I'm very proud of it. I'm
Yeah.
blessed to have
Amazing.
all these years and way more to come because I'm not finished yet.
No, not at all. And I love that song that you mentioned, like I hope you'll dance. There's so many different phrases or songs that emote that sort of, I guess, like challenge to not sit on the sidelines. Don't be a bystander in your own life, fully participate. And in order to fully participate, we have to take care of ourselves. I am consciously plugged into my fitness and nutrition outlet at this stage of my life because I want to be strong and healthy the rest of my life, and I want a sustainable habits, right? In your earlier years, it's way more shallow. You want to look good, right? Of course, everyone wants to look good, feel good, and all of that. But I want to be able to walk and take care of myself and get out of bed and, sit down with no issues and no pain. And to do that, as women especially, our muscles, our bones start to deteriorate around this time in my life, and it's only going to go further downhill. So it's important that I make that concerted effort, right? And any woman who wants to be active and an active participant in their life, they need to make those choices and then just stick with them. And it
Yes,
seems like you've done that. You really live this out.
I do because remember this. A couple of things. The greatest investment you could make in your life is in yourself. That sentence alone says it all, okay? And loving yourself and making the commitment to do the things you do because you love yourself.
Hmm.
And being a single woman in her 70s, I don't want to be a burden to my children. Okay. I want to be able to take care of myself. I want to have my sharp mind that I'm blessed to still have. I want to be able to move as I did as I was younger. So I knew the realities of actually being in a wheelchair. Okay, when I was sick, I never want to ever experience that, and I've been blessed to have all these years, and I'm going to continue to be taking care of the life that I was given
Mhm.
birth to. Going back to what we said before, we were talking about coming into being yourself and not a pretend person. So when you really get in touch with yourself and you really go deep down inside, and I had to do this for many, many years go down inside and vomit up all of the garbage that I was drummed into my head and, negative things. That's not who I was. That was
Mhm.
what people that I allowed to be in my environment, to be around in my company, to put that into my brain, kind of like brainwashing almost,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
had to be erased. And it's hard and hurtful, but it can be done. And when you do, you will be the original person your soul was born to be.
Mhm.
And it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Definitely. And separating ourselves from these limiting beliefs that were projected onto us by other people who are probably scared in their own lives. And also realizing that our inner critic, that voice that nags at us, is not actually our voice, right? That's not actually who we are. And so to be able to separate ourselves from those things, like you said, it's not easy, it can be challenging, but it's still worth it to push through that, because then you really do realize who you are and who you are meant to be, and then you can do that on purpose. And I share this with several of my guests and a lot of my friends in my life, but when you think about the end of your life, whatever that looks like and whenever it happens, there's an opportunity for the version of you that you could have been to meet you there. And if that disappoints you because you didn't live your life fully and completely on this earth, then that means you should be doing something different today in this moment, and take that conviction and that intuition and run with it, act and strike while the iron's hot, right? But act in the moment that you're feeling those feelings, and don't just let it pass you by. Because if you keep letting it pass you by, that's your comfort zone, your brain is just going to do what you tell it to do. Like you said earlier, what your dad said, what you're giving your body, you're giving your brain. That's what your body, your brain, all of it is going to work with. So if you continue to give it passes and let it off the hook, then it's going to give you passes and let you off the hook. But if you hold it accountable and you want something more for yourself, you will actually become a better version of yourself through that process.
So true. So I'm going to add to that. It's those small daily decisions that allows you to show up fully into being yourself. And it's just making those little baby steps every single day until one day you arrive. That's really it in a nutshell, because at 71, going through all the adversities of what life has thrown me, illness, divorce, bankruptcy, and here I am today with the best life ever. And I'm so content and happy. I wake up happy every single day. I love my life. I love, love, love my life. And I'm so grateful and thankful.
Hmm. Wow. That is such a tremendous place to be in your life too. And it also indicates to people like life goes on, it's not going to stay bad forever, right? And it's also what you make of it. If you just give up, then yeah, there's nothing for life to work with you on, the universe, your spiritual guides, any of that. But if you're open minded and willing to participate and take those incremental small steps each day, eventually, it pays off. And then you do get to live your life in a happy way.
Mhm.
Life can be happy, especially single women are, statistically the happiest. So I think we have an advantage. So anyone who's not a single woman, I understand like it could be challenging, but at the same time, like there's still the option as humans to choose how we show up, to choose like our headspace that we're in. And to just try to make the most of the situation. And I think practicing gratitude and having perspective helps a lot with that.
Yep. The most expensive thing that you can have is a closed mind.
Wow.
You have to be open minded.
Right.
Okay. And you have to be open to the God winks that happen along the way,
Mhm.
because I noticed I didn't pay attention to them when I was younger because I thought I was in control. But sometimes you have to just release and let life happen, because you are where you're supposed to be. And those life lessons come to teach us things. And if we don't learn from them, then it's a wasted life. And for me, I just want to keep growing and growing and doing more and more because I can.
Mhm. Yeah, so awesome, so beautiful. And it just reminds me of the clip I was lucky to see of you dressed as Audrey Hepburn, getting swung around the dance floor. And it's just, speaking exactly to that. Like you are just fully present in your life and you get to live this life. So live it, the way you want and on purpose. And I know you have more to share on that. So again, take it away. Tell us more about this dancing that you're doing now.
Well, my I always wanted to dance. I always did from a child, okay? And it just never it never happened. But when I was going through the divorce and I had to clear out my house and get it ready to go on the market, which I'm blessed to not have had that happen. I was able to keep it, but I had
Yeah.
to empty out this attic that was loaded. My ex husband was a hoarder. I couldn't even put 2 feet side by side. And I'll never forget the day that it was cleared out. And I did it by myself, single handedly, everything. It took, weeks and months, maybe even. And the dance, it was an open floor now. And I just remember just twirling around and dancing in there. And that was my passion. And it didn't come right then, but I still was in my heart. And I've been in direct sales, as I said before, and I had just gotten a $5,000 bonus back in November. And I said, this is my money for my fun. And I went and I signed up for my dance lessons. I started in the end of November and I'm going to do a competition in June. So I can't wait till, it's my dancing day and I get out, and whether it's cold or dark or whatever, I still get out there because I love it and I just have a passion for it. So we had a dress up night for something about I love New York, so you had to come as something, and I did Audrey Hepburn
Yeah.
because I love her style.
Right, absolutely. And you looked perfect doing it. So
Thank
you,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. It was a great tribute and you did it well. And it's just awesome seeing you active and happy and healthy. Because it's so inspiring, like if I can be ballroom dancing in my 70s like you, that's a good life for
Yes.
sure. So it's amazing. And I'm just so proud of you for kind of living your truth in that way and prioritizing yourself. There's so many hobbies that we can have in life and maybe interests that we have that we want to dabble in. And some people are too scared to ever get started. So they wait and wait and wait. They finally maybe get to do it if they're lucky. And then they wish they had started sooner, right? This is a conundrum across humans for some reason, the wishing you started sooner. Just do it when you're thinking about it, and you won't ever have to have that regret or that wish to go back in time and do it differently.
Yep. I just picked up the phone because I kept putting it off and putting it off, and I just said I'm doing it right now because if I don't, I'm just going to keep putting it off. So do it in the moment, live in the moment, live your life every day.
Exactly, exactly. I love that. And it's the same thing like you said, getting up in the morning on purpose and happy. It's all of that. Design your life around what makes you happy and what brings you joy. And then every day can feel like a vacation, but every day can feel happy for you. And you're not waking up for some other reason that's not aligned, right? So it's just a matter of sitting with yourself long enough to ask those questions. What's going to bring me joy? What will make me happy? And then that allows you the freedom and flexibility to live in the moment and just enjoy life as it comes.
Yep, yep, and that's true. Also, I would add this, and I always told my children this: do what you love, and the money will follow.
Mm,
So when I wake up every day, I don't have to wake up and say, oh, I have to go to work. I wake up and say, who am I going to help today? Because in my business, it's the health business. I'm constantly helping people get out of discomfort and pain and depression and all of that. So that to me is also rewarding. So, you have to do what you love, like you're doing. I commend you and applaud you for, getting out of corporate and following your heart and your dreams because this is what we should be doing.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. So well said, Nancy. It's been amazing to have you on the show and share your story. Is there anything else top of mind that we didn't get to touch on yet that you want to share with the audience before we go?
No, I just think if we can close with this: love yourself. Women always put themselves at the bottom of the list. I was the number one person. And now when I have to make a decision, I say, well, what does Nancy want? What does Nancy want to do about that? And if it's something that I really don't want to do, then I don't do it, because we do not have to give anyone an explanation for what we need to do to protect ourselves. And, just be in the present every day and wake up happy. Even if you're not, put a smile on your face. It'll turn around, and
Yeah.
get out into the light, get out into the sunshine, and give yourself some grace and forgive yourself. So thank you so much, Katrina. I always think about you all the time so fondly. We did grow together. You didn't realize I was growing along with you during those times. But
No, yeah. That's beautiful to hear, and it really means so much to me. And I love even in your final words how you're calling yourself by your name, right? You're saying, Nancy, like, what do we want? And there's so much power in that, naming yourself and giving yourself that validation. So amazing words to live by. Perfect example. And I'm thrilled that you grew alongside me and I was able to also, that it was mutual, like, we're growing together. That's more than I could ever ask for, because that's always my goal in life, that every person we meet, we can learn something from, and ideally we can grow together, and be the best versions of ourselves as a result. So thank you for that.
high five. We did it together,
We
lady.
did it. High five.
All right. God bless you, and bless everyone who listens to this. And if anyone, we can drop my information if anyone wants to
Yeah,
get in touch with me. Okay.
exactly. Yeah, perfect. I would love for everyone to reach out to you. So thank you for being on the show. It's been
Love
amazing.
you.
Love you. You are my most important listener, and I can't thank you enough for spending your time with me. If this content resonates with you, then hit subscribe. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube by following @ConnectorQueen. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again on the next episode of Becoming You.